Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mission for Fishing. In today's episode, as promised, we are finally giving you guys a boat tour, walkthrough, and overview on the channel. You guys have seen quite a few videos about this on the channel, but I've never really given you guys an in-depth look on how I rig it. So, finally today is that day. Broad overview, I say this a lot. This is a Lund 1972 12-foot boat. I believe this is an A12 model. That's how it's currently sold. I think that's the correct model. Nonetheless, it's a very small boat. It's the smallest boat that Lund makes, and its max horsepower rating is 10. And we have a 9.9 on the back, so this thing kicks pretty good. Yeah, so basically starting out, we repainted the boat a while back, and if you guys want to check out any of the videos I mentioned, you guys can do so in the description and up above. But we basically repainted this thing about a year ago, actually. And so we went with black and silver and then white on the actual inside. And it turned out really great. I'm really happy with it. Starting from front, we added this deck. And this was the first addition that we added to the boat. Got two hatches here. They both swing out. And I saw this on some of Lund's other 16-foot Rebel models. And I really like the layout of how these are kind of trapezoid shaped. And so I wanted to mimic that. So we got two of them in here. If you guys want to see how to make the deck, there's a video on that also. Inside I store life jackets, as you can see here. My bait bucket. I got lots of life jackets in this thing. This anchors the boat pretty well. It's just a standard mushroom. And then I also have... Oh my gosh! This is the biggest battery that Menards sells on the market here. I literally walked in and I didn't want to worry about recharging this thing a whole lot, so I basically said, what's the biggest one you got? I walked out with the biggest battery they got. Just a standard deep cycle, so I don't know what the amperage is on this, but we've ran this boat for a good 4 or 5 days with the trolling motor and the fish finder, and we've only dropped, I think, 15 or 20%. So this thing is way overkill. It's a tank. I think it's a good 50 pounds. But I put it up in the front of the boat to keep the weight down in the front so that it gets on plane a lot easier. We'll go into that a bit more in detail, but I have that sitting in a battery tray just so, you know, it doesn't sit in water, which water gets in there anyways. So, yeah, that's basically the front deck. Bam. All right, so now that nightmare is gone. Now we're going to work onto the back of the boat. So basically in here, here's my little cockpit area. I also did a video covering how I made these back decks here, so if you guys are interested in that, check that video out. But we just got a standard net that's kind of tucked in the corner here. I have leg room here, and I have two seats. One goes for my passenger here, one goes for me or whoever the captain happens to be. You can see on the inside it is unpainted, and the reason it's unpainted is because the paint constantly chips off because there's water that can flow through here. So I was really tempted to put a false floor in here. But then I figured I'm adding a lot of weight, so I'll just leave it as is. And I just figured I'd leave the bare aluminum, because if I paint this, it's all going to come off because gas and whatever can flow in here. Oh, well, there goes my sunglasses. Basically, we got this side hatch here. I put quite a bit of junk in here, so I got buoys and baits and fire extinguishers and a lot of garbage. So it's probably my favorite hatch on the boat to get to, just because it's so accessible from the captain's seat here. Right next to that, you'll notice all of our electronics for the boat. Now, we're not fancy yet. I want to install lighting, and I want to install a bilge pump and a few other cool things. That's coming. I just need to get some funding for it. Just need to stop spending so much money. But basically right here we have an Eagle Explorer. This is a GPS my grandpa actually gave to me. This thing does a pretty good job at keeping our location and you know, kind of showing us and being able to mark waypoints on here. And then right next to that, we have a Lowrance X65. I'm not sure how old this fish finder is, but they work pretty well. And this actually tells me speed and water temperature and a bunch of other different things, which is pretty awesome. Moving on to the back here, we have this seat, one for me and one for whoever's in the boat with me. They're super comfortable. They're nice Lund boat seats. You can get rid of them here so that you have a nice casting deck back here. Since this is a 12-foot boat, room is very tight, so having the seats be removable has me not only be able to use this as like a seat area, but also as a casting platform, so I can step up here and make a few casts and try to get a better line of sight on the fish. So moving to the back of the boat here, we have back deck here, and then we also have two compartments with the back deck. This hatch is specifically for my gas side, so I have my main tank right here, which is 3 1/4 gallons, and then I have an auxiliary tank, which is actually 2.5 gallons. So between the two of them, I have what is that, 5 3/4 gallon. So I got quite a bit of gas that I can store on the boat. I should really invest in a funnel because when I need to pour them out in the boat, gas goes everywhere, but I just haven't learned my lesson yet. The other hatch on the back over here is for my tackle, and I don't have a whole lot of tackle in there right now because most of it's in the Grand Prix, but you can see I keep a few tackle trays in here. A lot of my tackle, like I said, is in the Grand Prix, but I hide a bunch of wires back there for the transducer and a bunch of other things, and I always use these holes to get at my plug for the boat whenever I'm heading out. Coming back, I suppose, this is my trolling motor on the back. This is a Minn Kota. Not sure on the year, but this is a 36-pound thrust. It's pretty beefy setup for what it is. This is 5-speed forward, 3-speed reverse. On speed 5 and forward, pushes this boat at a good 5 miles an hour. And then right next to that, paired on the back, is the big showstopper, the 99. Now, I do know that this is a 1969 Mercury. This is a Merc 110. It's not technically 10 horsepower, it's 9.8, but you guys get the idea. This one, no electric start, nothing fancy, so it's all, you're working your muscles. And this thing runs like a charm. This thing runs beautifully. It's just got a lower unit oil leak, which I got to fix at some point. So back on the back of the boat, I have my temperature and speed sensor right here, which is a little paddle wheel, which is kind of inaccurate. I usually use the GPS's speed to really accurately display whatever. And then I also have my deucer for my X65 Lowrance, and both of these relay back to the X65, I should say, so I have a lot of information that's being fed to me. I think that's about it for the details on the boat. Now going into performance a little bit. This boat, before we did any modifications, adding deck, adding trolling motors, anything, just literally the boat shell with the gas tank and the outboard, we were hitting about 20 miles an hour, which is very fast. It was a little too fast for this boat. It almost felt like a jet ski at a certain point. We then added the front deck, and I believe we were doing about 17 with 2 people in the boat and the 10 on the back, which is still really good. And then just recently we added the back deck, and I think now we have a total of 150 pounds worth of deck in the boat. Then we also now added the trolling motor with the big battery that's about 50 pounds, and as well as the fish finders and all the gears. There's probably a good, what would you say, probably a good 300 pounds of just gear that we have in the boat. We're getting kind of close to the max capacity of the boat. It's really a 2-person boat now. You really can't do 3 people with this thing. But the nice thing about all these decks is they are removable, so if I ever want to go back to a 3-person or 4-person boat, which is, this thing is rated for 4 people, but I can do so and I can remove them all, and that's how I winterize the boat also. So with all of this gear now, this motor pushes this boat at around 10-11 miles an hour with 2 people. And then I think I was clocking 16 just by myself. Does it really make it less stable? Actually, no, because you have a better stance that you can get on the boat, and it chops through waves a lot better because it's got more inertia. So it really just cuts through the waves a lot better than it did before. So it's more stable on plane. When you're sitting there, it's a 12-foot boat, so it's still a little unstable, but it's not bad, coming from a kayak at least. Another thing is, a lot of people are concerned with rod storage, and I've heard that, you know, I should get rod tubes or whatever, and I should install all this rod whatever. The way that we've been getting away with it, you guys have noticed it, is we actually shove our rod tips up under this front support here. We kind of try to throw them behind the electronics and underneath this strap in the back. That's what we've been doing for rod storage, and you can fit a good 4 rods on each side, which is exactly what we have right now. I suppose you guys are probably really curious, and I've never really addressed it. The Pre does pull this whole rig, so my 1999, ooh, got my finger good. I have a 1999 Grand Prix SE, which is the smaller engine, so it's got a 3.1 liter, and Pre pulls it like there's really hardly anything back there. I can kind of tell when there's a boat back there, but it's not bad at all.
When we went up to Bemidji, we had another 150 pounds.
In the Pre, yeah. We've had kayaks in here, we've had the Pre absolutely loaded down, and it does everything I need it to do. I get 20 to the gallon on the highway, so that's pretty crazy, towing a trailer and a boat loaded down with a buddy. I would like a truck someday to tow this rig, but you know, that's something for the future, so I don't know, stay tuned, maybe that'll happen sometime in the future. Even pulling it out of the water, we have had 0 issues with any boat landings, and we've gone to sandy, rocky, really shallow. we've had no trouble having the pre-till this thing out of the landing. So thank you everybody for watching. Special shout out and thank you to Josh Liebel for filming this video. This is a video that a lot of you guys have been wondering for a while now, and finally getting out to you guys. So hopefully this scratched your itch for wanting to know a little bit more on my specific rigs. So if you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that bell icon. And mission of the day was to kind of show off my rig and give you guys an idea for how it performs and answer a few of you guys' questions. And I think we pretty much did that. Mission complete.